Welcome to my YouTube channel, and we got to take care of some unfinished business. I've been hearing conversations and looking in the comments and people trying to convince me that the political parties have somehow switched. That has been debunked and confirmed by the Texas Democrats, who are runaway slaves right now. They're fleeing the state of Texas. They got to go north to Chicago. They got to go west to California. Reminds me of the past. And remember, Juneteenth started because of the state of Texas. Almost a year and a half, almost 2 years after slavery ended, the state of Texas was still benefiting off of that free labor. So now that the parties have switched, has been debunked, because the GOP is what they call the Grand Old Party. The party of Lincoln, okay, it's still the same party, the party that signed the Emancipation Proclamation, the party that allowed the newly freed slaves to fight for their freedoms and their liberties on the side of the federal government to defeat the Democratic Dixiecratic South. And I'm just keeping it a buck with you. So all these debates and all that is hogwash. It's propaganda. And Obama said just flood the market with all the propaganda and nobody would believe anything. But now we see these black elected officials, the Jasmine Crockett's and these other black elected officials as Democrats fleeing the state of Texas. And back in the days, in slavery days, these are what you call masters, bed wenching concubines. Okay, now that the jig is up, now that the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of mass incarceration is being exposed, and now the Democrats are refusing to do their job and they are fleeing the state like runaway slaves. So thank you for the confirmation. Thank you for proving the theory and making it a theorem. It was a conspiracy theory that the party switched. Now it's a theorem that the parties did not switch because it's been totally debunked. The Grand Old Party is the federal government. That's what they do. So if you did not know, Trump represents the federal government just like Abraham Lincoln did. And now the federal government is dismantling the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party did not switch. They was able to rebrand themselves. Because remember, at the end of the Civil War, they rebranded themselves. Okay, instead of slaves, they were sharecroppers. Instead of the slavery laws, they were called the Black Codes. And then the Civil Rights Movement came into effect, and here's the rebranding. And it's crazy that Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was the vice president of JFK, was a racist, segregationist governor out of the state of Texas, and JFK needed him to win the election, just like Obama needed Biden. So now that Texas is back under the microscope, Lyndon B. Johnson is on record saying, I'll have those niggers voting Democratic for the next 200 years. But all I gotta say is, time's up. So now that the time's up, we can keep it 100. We can be honest and tell the truth and shame the devil. The parties never switched. The GOP stands for Grand Old Party. The Democratic Party stands for ruled by the devil, because the word demo, the root word of demo, D-E-M-O, is demon, diablo, or devil, in the Latin origin and in Spanish. The word crat means to rule or be ruled by. So the premise and the name of the Democratic Party means ruled by the devil. So sometimes it be right in your face and you really don't even understand it. So now that these Democratic slaves is on the run, and I saw a Democratic press conference, and the head of the press conference for the Democrat was some Chinaman. I can't make this stuff up. Some Chinaman, some immigrant, some migrant. And I brought the immigrant and the migrant up is because the Democratic Party, the party of slavery, back in its heyday, its number one element was slavery. That was its cash cow. Slavery. Okay. Now it's not slavery anymore because blacks, we're more conservative than anybody can ever imagine. But what we do, we give concessions and we cut deals, but we not going to get played like Dr. King got played. But that's a whole nother a topic of discussion, but we're going to stay on point right now because slavery was the number one thing that the Democratic Party in its past. You know, the number one thing right now for the Democratic Party, and this one I say the parties didn't switch. Okay, the Democratic Party keeps rebranding itself. So now it was this party of slavery. It was the party of Jim Crow. Now it's the party of the migrant, aka illegal immigrant. Did you see Hunter Biden? Hunter Biden did a press conference and he said, if I was to become president, I'm going to call all these Latin countries and tell them to send our migrants back. Because who's going to cut the grass? Who's going to paint our houses? Who's going to pick the fruit? And if it wasn't for that cotton gin, they'll be picking cotton right now because the migrant is the slaves of the Democratic Party. Yes, I said it. Breaking news 2025 in the month of August. Build or destroy. We're going to build. Okay. And then in that ninth month, in that ninth month, we're going to do our thing. We're going to be born because it takes how many months to have a baby? So right now, you're going to build or destroy. And right now, this month of August is off to a crazy start because I never thought that I would see elected officials fleeing their state, fleeing their comfortable homes, leaving their children and their husbands to go to Chicago, to go to Illinois, to go to LA. Sounds like slavery times to me. So now that the jig is up, we got to do our thing. So now we're going to just let the party of slavery die. They have lost the black race as a whole. And when I say race, because our race is our grace. If we break down to an ethnicity, they're going to put you into that LBGTQ elemental P pot and just stir it up. Make a pot of gumbo. But put a G in front of race. And that's the black man's grace. Because the parties never switch. Got those Democrats running. Run! Get up out of here. Your job, like I said, it's over. Okay, it's over. And all we're doing, we just got to trust the process because there's a biblical prophecy that a group of people will be stolen from their land, dwell in a foreign land that is not their own, and they will be duly oppressed for exactly 400 years. And after the oppression, God will punish the oppressors. And there's a whole lot of punishment going on that we don't see because of the propaganda and all the distractions because, Obamagate, with the Russian thing, with the Russia hoax going on. I'm going to talk about that. But what happened to the Epstein files? Oh, okay. They opened Pandora's box and they looked at the deposition or the first day of testimony in the Epstein files. So they talk about they want to, show the list. And on the first day, Bill Clinton was mentioned, Richard Branson was mentioned, as well as Prince Andrew was mentioned. And then the next day, when they went to get Jeffrey Epstein out of his prison cell to take him to court, okay, he mysteriously was unalived. Okay, so those are these grand distractions. So they don't want the Epstein files to come out. But back to the subject at hand, and that subject is there was no switch. And if it was a switch, it was a magic trick called the bait and switch because the GOP is the grand old party. It always has been and always will because the GOP is less government. The GOP is putting America first. The GOP is making sure that this great nation is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. But somehow the Democratic Party, they want to open the gate and let all and everybody on in here and get whatever they want. Because that's what you call supremacy. And I'm going to say this before I close. I could deal with the racists because they're going to do that over there. And I'm in Cali. They can do that in Thousand Oaks, South Orange County. Just stay out of our business. Let us handle ours. But supremacy is, can we come in? Can we be your friend? Because they want to use their resources to have power, control, and authority over you. So run, nigga, run. Get on up out of there. Nigga gal, get on up out of there. Running scared. And it is what it is. The parties never switch. And I'm so glad that in 2025, we don't have to have this debate anymore because the Democratic Party is a party of slavery, is the party of Jim Crow, is a party of abortion, is a party of the LBGTQ elemental P, and more importantly, the party of the newly slaves of the Democratic Party, according to Hunter Biden. And that's the migrants, aka those illegal immigrants. Hit that like, hit that notification. We going up. Got a subscription channel coming up. It's in process. We got a brand new studio. So we're going to make it happen. So keep tapping in. Hit that like. It don't cost you nothing. Hit that notification because we going up. And we debunk the fact that the party's changed. The GOP is the GOP and the party of slavery is the party of slavery. With that being said, have a great day. It's your man, Bouchon Glover, signing out. Better Black American TV. Peace out.